Yes. अरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर चोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So we were discussing the poor attendance record that we have, but as I said, we are moving against the flow, you know. So it will take a great level of effort to get connected to this kind of studies. And it's easy to get connected to, if you want to go to a movie, you want to go to a party, then everything gets arranged, easily. Just because uh, winning over the delusion is a challenge for everybody. And this delusion is controlling us since time immortal. So it's not easily that we can get over it. So we have to put in special efforts. And of course, the auspicious karma has taken us to so far, but still we have to put in the right efforts to get ahead in this path of spirituality and the path of liberation. So we are quite aware, people like you are joining. You are not Indian also, and you are not a Jain also, but still you are putting in so much of effort uh, with no background. So it's all depends on the individual and his destiny. I'm just talking about destiny. I'm not talking about efforts, because right now I want to highlight destiny, because I want to highlight destiny. The reason is that um, you need to have auspicious karma in your bank account, to get to this kind of studies, which is going to liberate you. We have been suffering from miseries in all the four state of existences, and to get rid of this life and death, and to get liberated is something that we all look forward to, and each individual do look forward to. Nobody wants misery, everyone wants happiness. So it's a challenge, and because of this Jinvani, we have got access to that kind of knowledge which can liberate us. So this is the ultimate, I would say this is the ultimate fight. And if you are able to win over this fight, definitely you are going to get liberated very soon. So it is all very automatic, just like, Marichi, the Mahavir Bhagwan, the 24th Tirthankar. In his previous birth, he was Marichi, and Rishabdev, the first Tirthankar, was his Dada, and Bharat Chakravarti was his father. And they all got liberated in that birth only. And still, this fellow did not follow his Dada's and father's teachings, but he carved out a different path opposite from this. And in fact, he led that path. So Adinath Bhagwan was not disturbed. Even Bharat Chakravarti was not disturbed. Even Bahubali, his uncle was not disturbed, and his brothers, 99 brothers, who came from Nigoth to this human life, and they went to and they achieved liberation in the same birth. They all were not disturbed because you know they had got uh, control over the attachments, and these are all kind of attachments. So even uh, Adinath Bhagwan could not do anything. So how I can think of doing something? But still that kind of attachment is there, that every people get access to this kind of knowledge and be a happy person. So today's classes are very important in the sense that we are going to study about 7 fundamental elements today. And before that, of course, we'll be completing the last chapter, the 12 reflections. Okay. So we begin with that, and then we move on to 7 fundamentals, which is, I think, the most important chapter of this Vitrag Vigyan 1, and not only Vitrag Vigyan 1, but the Jainism. So we'll get into that after this, finishing this. This is Bara Bhavna, or 12 wishful reflections. It is also called Bara Anupreksha. Okay. So Anupreksha, the word is in Hindi, Anupreksha. If you break it, it is Anu plus Pra plus Iksha. So Anu means barambar, again and again, again and again. Pra is Prakrusht Roop, supreme. And Iksha means Chintan Manan. Chintan Manan means thoughts, thinking about that. So when you are thinking about a particular thing again and again, okay, so that is called the reflections. Okay, so you are reflecting on those thoughts again and again. So these are called reflections, and these are a very important cause of practicing discriminative knowledge. Even the monks, when they get initiated into monkhood, the first thing they do is Bara Bhavana. They think of Bara Bhavanas, wishful reflections. Even when there is an infliction happening on them, that time also, they think of this 12 reflections, So it's a very important tool in the path of liberations, and it will, if you understand this 12 reflections very nicely, then it will rescue you from any adverse situation in life, So these 12 reflections are nothing but 12 ways of practicing discriminative knowledge. So you will be learning today 12 different ways how to practice discriminative knowledge, So this particular Bara Bhavana is written by Pandit Jaichandji Chabda. So Jaichandji Chabda was there in the 18th century, Exact date, if you want, it is 1739 Common Era, and he had a very long life of 88 years, and he left this world in 1827 Common Era. He was a very talented scholar, and as it is written here that Pandit Jaichandji Chabda occupies an important place in the spiritual-minded geniuses of Jaipur. So Jaipur has always been a city where, many of the scholars took birth there. Many of the scholars did their research there, and many of the scholars spent their life there. So that city has a special connection. Even Todarmalji was from Jaipur, then Pandit, some other Vidwans were all from Jaipur. So we do have Pandit Todarmal Smarak Trust there now, which is a factory of producing scholars, and it's functioning since last 50 years. So there so many batches has been rolled over there, and more than 1,000 scholars we have from there only. Of course, now there are other places also where these scholars are getting training, and we have centers in Kota, we have center in Bhopal, we have center in Baswada, we have center in Udaipur for the ladies, and then we have some center in Delhi also. So now we have access to so many centers, but at that point of time, 50 years ago, there was only one center dedicated for this kind of training. This Parmagam Honors course is also affiliated to Pandit Todarmal Smarak Trust, Jaipur, and what they teach there to these scholars in 5 years, we are also following that course here, and we are only taking 2 hours of yours per week. So you should consider yourself to be lucky to have this access, to this kind of training, and this is going to change your life for sure. And it's not going to change your life, but it's going to get you into the path of liberation, and the end result would be that you will get liberated very soon. So there is no surprise that people are facing different kinds of challenges. Some have a genuine problem, some are not attending because of negligence, and some are not getting the motivation to attend. So there are all sorts of reasons, and but today is a good day for us because we have connected to the studies, and we will do our good. So this Pandit Jaychandji Chhabda, he was a genius, and he was born in a village Fagi on the Dighi Malpura road, 30 miles away from Jaipur. So a small village, 30 kilometers, 30 miles from Jaipur. He was born there. His father's name was Moti Ramji Chhabda. At the early age of 11, he was drawn towards spiritual studies. So see, these all people, special kind of people's scholars, in actuality, these are the celebrities, So even from their previous birth, they are continuing with that connection. And you can see that at the early age of 11, he was drawn towards spiritual studies. Can you imagine? Kunkunda Acharya became Acharya at the age of 11. There was this Jinsen Muniraj, monk. He got initiated into monkhood at the age of 8. So there are people who gets connected to this kind of spiritual studies from early age. So after some days, he came to Jaipur, where he got the company of Pandit Todarmalji and others. So Pandey Rajmalji was there, then Pandit Daulat Ramji was there, and then there were a few other scholars also in Jaipur. So Jaipur has been quite a popular place for scholars since long. He attained spiritual knowledge in the Terapanth group of Jaipur. His son Pandit Nandlal was also a great scholar. Pandit Jaychandji has himself showered praises on him. So his son was also a great scholar. Even Todermalji's son both were a great scholars. So the legacy continues, and we are all very fortunate to have this legacy coming to us. And it's a rare opportunity that we have all got access to, and we should make the most of it. His works are mostly commentaries. So he didn't do any independent work, but most of his work is on the commentaries on the main scriptures that has been written by acharyas. So these commentaries are called vachanikas. He has some original works to his credit. Following are some of his important works. So an author is best remembered by his important works, and Pandit Jaychandji Chhabra have written these commentaries called Tatvarth Vachanika, Sarvat Siddhi Vachanika, Pramay Ratnamala Vachanika, Dravya Sangrah Vachanika, Samay Sar Vachanika. So of all these, Samay Sar Vachanika is very famous. So all those Bhavarth in Samay Sar is written by Pandit Jaychandji Chhabra. And that speaks of his intellect and the understanding that he possessed. Then we have Ashtapaud Vachanika. Then we have Jnana Varna. Sorry, not Jnana Varna. Jnanarnav. Jnanarnav Vachanika. Then we have Dhanya Kumar Charitra Vachanika. Then we have Kartikeya Preksha Vachanika, and then we have Pad Sangra. The present 12 wishful reflection is his own work. So there are around 100 available 12 reflections from different acharyas and authors and scholars. Every acharya wants to write a 12 reflections, and they generally write it for their own benefit, and so we have a complete paper on 12 reflections in the third sem, and there will be studying about these 12 reflections in a deep manner, and we are covering there around 15, 20, 12 reflections of different acharyas and scholars and monks. So this is a very good, I would say, technique for practicing discriminative knowledge. So it is from 12 different angles that we will see how we can practice discriminative knowledge. So the first one is Anitya Bhavna. Anitya Bhavna, in English we call it transitoriness. So this is a contemplation about impermanence of this world. So I'll read the Hindi once and then I will explain you in English. Dravya रूप करी सर्वथीर पर जय थिर है कौन द्रव्य दृष्टिया पालको पर जय नहीं करी गौण. So in all the 12 reflections, author Pandit Jaychandji Chhabra has explained each reflections through two viewpoints. One is the real point of view, which is the fact, actual, and the other is conventional point of view. So the first one is called Nischay, and the second one is called Vyavhar in Hindi. So in English, it is real point of view and conventional point of view. So he explains each and every reflection through these two viewpoints. So we will see this in transitoriness from the extrasensory point of view. So from the extrasensory point of view means from real point of view. from the substance point of view, the whole universe is constant, you know. So there are 6 types of substances in this universe, and this whole universe is constant. From which point of view? From real point of view, or from substance point of view, or from the extra sensory point of view. The whole universe is constant. Constant means it's static. It's not moving. But from the manifestation point of view, okay, so from the conventional point of view or the manifestation point of view, nothing is constant. Everything is moving. So now you might be confused a bit that how can then universe be constant also and not constant also? Both are opposites. So how it could be simultaneously constant also and not constant also? So our acharyas find out a way, and they use this tool of nai. Nai means point of view. So our whole Jinvani is written from some point of view. Okay. So we have to understand that point of view from where it is being said, and then we will understand it properly. So this is said from the substance point of view or the extrasensory point of view. The whole universe is constant. So when you look at things from the substance point of view, you see that all the substances, there are 6 types of substances: Jeev, and then Ajeev or Jeev, Pudgal, Dharma, Adharma, Akash, Kal. So Jeev is soul, then we have Pudgal, which is matter, then we have Dharmastikai, which is medium of motion, then we have Adharmastikai, medium of rest, then we have Akas, medium of space, and then we have Kal, medium of time. Okay, so these are 6 types of substances in this universe, and these are all constant by nature. But if we look at the same thing from the manifestation point of view, nothing is constant. Everything is on the move, 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 move. So the whole structure of substance includes the modification, which are always manifesting every moment, you know. New manifestations are coming, old manifestations are going away. It's being destroyed, and the new ones are coming up. So from the manifestation point of view, nothing is constant because there is evolution and extinction every moment. Okay, every moment a new modification evolves and the old one gets extinct. And this cycle has been going on from time immortal, and it's going to continue in future also. It's not going to stop for a single moment. So every moment there will be a new modification coming up, evolving, and the older one getting destroyed. That is the sequence, you know. So from the manifestation point of view, nothing is constant. All the substances are always on the move. But when we look at it from a different angle, the real point of view or the substance point of view, all the substance of this universe are constant. So we have 2 viewpoints to look at for everything in this universe. You can look at it from the real point of view, which is more factual, and then there is a modification point of view. Both, if you have correct knowledge of both, then only you are able to know the true nature of that substance. As such, relegating the manifestation point of view to the background, spiritual experience alone is worth striving for from the psychic point of view. So, there are two kinds of viewpoints, as I said. So when you highlight one viewpoint, the other viewpoints automatically gets ignored. Okay. So it's not being destroyed, but it is just being ignored. Ignored doesn't mean that it's absence. Ignore means we are not talking about it. So we are highlighting something, and this way of highlighting something and ignoring something is called nay, viewpoint. Okay. So relegating the manifestation point of view to the background and bringing the substance point of view, highlighting it, that then spiritual experience alone, okay, from the substance point of view, the spiritual experience alone is worth striving for. Why it is worth striving for? Can anyone answer?
Because it's eternal.
Yes. What else? Because our purpose of becoming happy can only be solved or achieved by just taking shelter in ourselves. Okay. So the spiritual experience, the self-realization is worth striving for, because this is going to bring happiness in us. Anything and everything apart from this are only a cause of misery to us. There is no happiness over there. And when we experience ourselves, and realize ourselves, that is the time that you enjoy eternal bliss. So from the psychic point of view, or from the substance point of view, or from the extrasensory point of view, uh, we need to ignore the manifestation point of view or the conventional point of view, and we should indulge in spiritual experience. And by doing that, we are going to have this feeling of happiness in ourselves. So the reflection of transitoriness also takes us to our spiritual experience. Next, asharan bhavana, forlornness. Forlornness. Asharan means all the objects of this universe will not give shelter to us. शुद्धात्म अरूपंच गुरु जग में सरना दोय मो उदय जिय के व्रथा आन कल्पना होय. So there are only two shelters in this world. From the spiritual point of view or the substance point of view, our own pure soul is our refuge. And from the external point of view, from the conventional point of view, and from the manifestation point of view, the five parmestities are our refuge. We should take shelter in them. So these five parmesti, Arihant, Siddh, Acharya, Upadhyaya, and Sadhu. Okay. This creature, due to delusion, regards other objects as his refuge. So this is the mistake that the soul is doing. He considers the other object as his refuge. And because of that, he is transmigrating in the four state of existence and suffering all kinds of miseries in each of those state of existence. Now, I would suggest somebody to read. So we should read two at a time. So 3 and 4. Samyak, you read from the screen. 3 and 4. You know Hindi also?
Yeah.
So you read the Hindi one first and then the English one.
Okay. So 3 and 4.
Yeah.
परद्रव्यन्ते प्रतीति जो है संसार अबोध ताको फल गतिचार में भ्रमण कर्यो श्रुत शोध. From the spiritual point of view, delusions, attachments, and aversions constitute the world. On account of these inclinations, living beings wander about in the four phases of life. परमार्थ ते आत्मा एक रूप ही जोय कर्म निमित्त विकल्प घने तीन ना से शिव होय. From the spiritual point of view, our soul is only consciousness. Karma being indifferent because of different manifestations, soul assumes different alternates. Complete liberation is attained after getting rid of these inclinations.
Thank you, Samyak. And so nice of you to attend today's class. I'm so happy about it that you committed and you are really, you mean that what you commit. So you are going to have a very good time going forward. And I can assure you, okay, if you stay connected, you will learn new things every week. And over a period of time, you will be you will have access to all these principles. You will understand these principles of Jainism, and that is going to make you happy right now also, and the future. You are going to get liberated very soon. So you will put an end to all kinds of miseries that we have been suffering from time immortal. So nice of you. So third one was Sansar Bhavna. So Sansar, we usually call this Sansar, this transmigration from one species to another species, that is in actual called the Sansar. But here it has got a deep meaning. So from the real point of view, the manifestation of delusion, attachments, and aversions constitute the world. So sansar is worldly existence. So from the spiritual point of view or the substance point of view or the real point of view, delusion, attachment, and aversions constitute the world. So it is not the outside universe that is sansar, but the sansar is in ourself only, in our manifestation, okay, which is very momentary. Every moment there is a new manifestation coming up. The old one is getting extinct. So in our manifestation, okay, this feeling of delusions, attachments, and aversions is the real sansar for us. And if we are able to get rid of these, then we will be a happiest person. On account of these inclinations, living beings wander about in the four phases of life. So now if you want to stop that transmigration, then you need to understand this thing, that from the spiritual point of view, delusion, attachment, and aversions constitute the world. So it is best we get rid of these delusions, attachments, and aversions, and that will make us a happy person permanently. The next one was ekatva. Ekatva means oneness. So from the spiritual point of view or the real point of view, our soul is only consciousness. It is the only living being, you know. All others are non-living for us. So from the spiritual point of view, our soul is only consciousness. Consciousness means chetna. Chetna means knowledge and perception. So by default, by nature, we are just a knower and seer. Okay. So from the substance point of view, our soul is only consciousness, means it's only a knower and seer. Karma being indifferent cause or the instrumental cause, nimit, of different manifestation. Soul assumes different alternates. So because of this karma, which is an instrumental cause, okay? And because of this instrumental cause, the soul assumes different alternates, different types of manifestation. Complete liberation is attained after getting rid of these inclinations. So when we get rid of these inclinations because of this karmic karma acting as instrumental cause, we will get complete liberation. Now, fifth and sixth, and for that, Pratibhaji, you read it.
Sir, एक question है number 4 पर.
Hmm.
When we say that soul assumes different manifestations, so the function of the soul is to know. So are there manifestations about the soul knowing? Because if the soul stops knowing, then it's no longer a soul, because that's its dravyatva, right? So
Right.
what do you mean by the soul assumes different manifestations?
So soul assumes different manifestations means the manifestation part, there are different inclinations and different kind of emotions happening constantly. Okay. So because the soul is the owner of this enterprise, the manifestation belongs to the soul, it is said that soul assumes different alternates, okay, or it's a cause of different manifestations. But the soul, from the substance point of view, it's a observer only, okay. So it's only an observer. So he observes what is reflecting in the manifestation. This manifestation keeps on changing every moment, and new reflections are coming, that are getting reflected in our knowledge. Okay. And soul is not a doer of those things. Soul is an observer. That is what they want to say here in the fourth one.
Okay.
Oneness. Soul is always an observer. It never changes its form, From an observer, he never becomes a doer. Okay. So
Yeah.
his primary qualities are knowledge and perception, and because of these qualities, he is only a knower and seer. He is never a doer. He never uh, makes oneness with anyone. He never, uh, you know, indulges in anything, He always remains aloof and alone. So that's what the reflection of oneness tells us.
Okay. Thanks.
So now you read the fifth and sixth one, Roshni.
Oh,
Pratibha ji was going to read.
Yeah, sorry.
oh, okay. You want me to
Yeah,
read?
no
Okay,
problem. Next time.
okay. The fifth one, अन्यत्व. अपने अपने सत्व को सर्व वस्तु विलसाय ऐसे चितवे जीव तव परते ममता न थाय. Separateness, every substance develops in its own existence. None is the creator or the destroyer of the other. When a living being reflects like this, he does not develop attachment for worldly objects and being. The sixth one, asuchi. निर्मल अपनी आत्मा देहे अपमान गे जानी भव्य निज भाव को yaso tajo sneha. Impurity. Our soul is perfectly pure. The body, however, is very impure. As such, the learned preceptor have ordained us to look into ourselves and not to indulge in any sort of attachment for this impure body.
So anyatva means separateness.
Mhm.
So this soul is separate from all other substances and it remains separate only. Okay, it never gets mixed up with any other substance. So अपने अपने सत्व को सर्व वस्तु विलसाय ऐसे चिंतवे जीव तब परते ममत न थाय. Every substance develops in its own existence. Every substance is manifesting in its own existence. None is the creator or the destroyer of the other. So all the substance are independent. All the substance is doing independently its own development, and none is the creator or the destroyer or the helper of one another. When a living being reflects like this, he does not develop attachment for worldly beings and he does not develop attachment for worldly objects and beings. Okay. So when you know that you are separate from all other things, then you don't develop attachment for any of the worldly objects and beings, because you know, okay, you can only develop an attachment, but you cannot get mixed up with any other things. You always remain a separate entity. So automatically the attachment for worldly objects and being goes away when you contemplate like this about separateness. Okay. The next is impurity, asuchi. है ना? So our soul is perfectly pure, but this body along with us is very impure. It's totally impure. You know, this body consists of I think more than 5 crore diseases. So just because of our good karma, auspicious karma, that we are here sitting peacefully. Otherwise, if one of the diseases comes into our life, we all get disturbed, you know. So in this reflection, particularly, it's about the body. So the author says that our body is impure, but still we get attracted to that body and we take so much care of that body. So our soul is perfectly pure. The body, however, is very impure. As such, the learned preceptors have ordained us to look into ourselves, because we are the pure substance. So if we look at ourselves and we look at the pure substance, then automatically the manifestations become pure. Okay. As such, the learned preceptors have ordained us to look into ourselves and not to indulge in any sort of attachment for this impure body. So this body is full of diseases, this body is full of impurities. So we should not indulge in any sort of attachment with this impure body. So the first 6 reflections are about getting rid of sansar, sharir and bhog. So sansar is worldly association, sharir is body, and bhog means sensory pleasures. Okay. So first 6 reflections helps us in practicing discriminative knowledge from worldly association, from body, and from the sensory pleasures. Okay. So, so it's a good practice of descriptive knowledge for the first 6 reflections. And now the next 6 reflections will reflect on the fundamentals, tattva parak, fundamentals. So by having the correct knowledge of these fundamentals, the next chapter that we are going to study, we can become happy, So Acharyas have mentioned everywhere in Jinvani about the 7 fundamentals, and if you want to achieve Samyak Darshan, or if you want to realize yourself, if you want to achieve right belief, then you need to know the 7 fundamentals very clearly. So once you have a clarity of the 7 fundamentals in your knowledge, you can practice descriptive knowledge, and by practicing descriptive knowledge, you can be permanently, you can become you will begin the path of liberation, and you will complete this spiritual journey and attain liberation. So now the next 6 ones are a bit subtle also, and this first 6 and the next 6 all have got a connections to each other, and the sequence also has got some significance. We will be learning about all these things in detail when we come to this complete paper on 12 reflections. But right now, we are not going into so much of detail. We have limited time, so we'll just move on. And now the next one, 7th and 8th one. So, Roshni ji,
Ha.
you read.
Number 7, आश्रव. आत्मा केवल ज्ञानमयी निश्चय दृष्टि निहार सब विभाव परिणाममयी शास्त्र विभाव
Astra Bhav Vivar.
आश्रव भाव विहार
Vidar.
influx विहार
Vidara. Da.
vidar okay.
Yeah.
Influx. Spiritually, our soul is all consciousness. Impure modifications of the soul are influx feelings, which are to be annihilated. Samvar. Nija swarup mein bhinata निश्चय संवर जानी समिति गुप्त समिति गुप्ति
Sanjam.
संजम धर्म दरे पाप की हानि. Stoppage of influx. To be deeply engrossed in our spiritual existence alone is real stoppage of influx. It is associated with careful functioning of the senses, mental, vocal, and bodily restraints, and abstinence, with the help of which sins are washed off.
So the 7th one is influx, Asrav Bhavana. Spirituality, our soul is all consciousness. Okay. So from the real point of view, we are all pure soul, and impure modification of the soul are influx feelings. So this impure modification means delusions, attachments, and aversions, and all kinds of passions. These are impure modification of the soul. So these are all a cause of bondage, This influx is a cause of bondage, which are to be annihilated. So when there is a bondage, we need to annihilate that bondage. We should destroy this bondage to get liberated and happy, permanently be happy. So we should do descriptive knowledge, practice descriptive knowledge with this influx. And what is samvar? So samvar is opposite of influx. It is called stoppage of influx. Influx means the karmas are coming, and stoppage of influx means the karmas have stopped coming. To be deeply engrossed in our spiritual existence alone is real stoppage of influx. So if you want to stop this influx, you get yourself engrossed in your soul, and then you will stop this influx. On the contrary, you will manifest pure sentiments, and it will be a cause for happiness for you. It is associated with careful functioning of the senses, mental, vocal, and bodily restraints and abstinence, with the help of which sins are waved off. So the stoppage of influx is associated with careful functioning of the senses, mental, mansik, vocal, shabdik, and bodily restraints and abstinence, with the help of which sins are washed off. So when there is an influx, we are suffering. We do bind karmas, and because of the rise of fruition of those karmas, we suffer. So now this stoppage of influx opens up our path of liberation, and when this path of liberation opens up, automatically your restraints on the mental, vocal, and bodily, you don't get indulged in those activities anymore. And so when you don't get involved in this kind of activities, you don't bind new karmas, and your sins are washed off. Okay. So it is not only a stoppage of influx, but whatever is there that you have bound previously, that also gets washed off, that we will see in the next reflection. Okay. Nirjara bhavana. Nirjara means dissociation of bondage. Okay. So such a nice thing that you understand these fundamentals very nicely, and then practice descriptive knowledge, and you become a happy person. So now we'll move on to the 9th and the 10th one, Nirjara and Lok Bhavana. So Madhuji, you read. Yeah, 9th and 10th.
संवरमय है आत्मा, पूर्व कर्म झड़ जाए, निज स्वरूप को पायकर लोक शिखर जब थाए. Just a minute. Have I read this? Nirjara, na?
Read the English one, then.
Yeah. Shedding of bondage. Our knowing soul alone is our object of attainment, by reliance whereof all the old impurities of merit and demerit are it's not clear, no?
Annihilated. Annihilated means destroyed.
Annihilated, and the soul attains its inherent nature. लोक स्वरूप विचारी किंग आत्म रूप निहार परमारथ व्यवहार गुणी मिथ्या भाव निवारी. Universe. Considering over the functions of the six substances of this universe, we should merge ourselves with our soul, understanding the spiritual as well as the material aspects of living. We should destroy inclinations towards wrong faith.
So nirjara is shedding of bondage or dissociation of bondage. Our knowing soul means soul only knows, that is the default function of ours, that we are only a knower, we never do anything. So our knowing soul alone is our object of attainment. By reliance whereof, okay, all the old impurities of merits and demerits are annihilated, and the soul attains its inherent nature. So our knowing soul alone is our object where we need to focus. And if we focus in our soul, and if we get engrossed in our soul, all the impurities of auspicious and inauspicious karmas gets destroyed, and the soul attains its inherent nature. Inherent nature means by default the soul is only a knower and seer. So he attains this role of knowing, knower and seer. He doesn't become a doer now. So this nirjara, the purity that has begun in stoppage of influx, that continues with greater speed in this nirjara or the shedding of bondage, and the soul offloads all its previous bound karmas, and it gets liberated very soon. The next in the line is Lok Bhavana. Lok Bhavana means universe, thinking about the universe. Considering over the functions of the six substances, this universe consists different types of six substances. So considering over the functions of the six substances of this universe, we should merge ourselves with our soul. We should merge ourselves with our soul means we are the soul. If you are able to take a decision now that you are the soul, that means you have merged with your soul. Understanding the spiritual as well as the material aspects of living, we should destroy inclination towards wrong faith. Okay, so by knowing the nature of this universe, we should destroy all the inclination towards this wrong faith, and we should adapt to our original nature, original inherent nature of you are just an observer of this universe, and you are not a doer of this universe. Coming on to the last two, 11 and 12, knowledge and perceptional sentience. And the last one is religion. Bodhi Durlabh,
I'll read, sir.
religion. Yeah.
11. Knowledge and perceptual sentience. Consciousness. Wait, no. Sir, you put to move it. Just a moment. Yeah. Knowledge and perceptual sentience. Consciousness is the attribute of the soul. It is not at all difficult to achieve. It is from the material external point of view that it has been called uncommon or difficult to achieve. Dharam. दर्शक ज्ञान में चेतना, आत्म धर्म बखानी, दया क्षमादिक रत्नत्रय या में गर्भित जानी. Religion. Our soul is a mass of consciousness and perceptual sentience. Its 10 forms of compassion, forgiveness, etc., and the 3 gems of right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct are all indivisible parts of our soul.
So, the 11th one is Bodhi Durlabh. Bodhi Durlabh means, Bodhi means knowledge. So getting this knowledge of the soul is very, very difficult, you know, Durlabh, it's very rare, you know. So consciousness is the attribute of the soul, knowledge. Consciousness means here knowledge. It is not at all difficult to achieve because it's your nature. It's your nature to know. So it's not difficult to achieve that. It is from the material or the external point of view that it has been called uncommon or difficult to achieve. So from the real point of view, the consciousness or the knowledge is your nature and it is not difficult to achieve. So one which is our nature, how it can be difficult to achieve? But when we look at it from the conventional point of view or the external point of view, it has been called uncommon or difficult to achieve. Why it has been called uncommon and difficult to achieve? If you think on those lines, you will realize that getting the human life itself is so difficult, you know. There are so many species, 84 lakh species. And among these 84 lakh species, to get a human birth is very, 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 very difficult and rare. Okay. Now, if you get a human birth, it's very difficult that the probability of getting the Jainism religion is also very less. Now, if you get a Jainism religion, then you should develop an interest. And again, in Jainism, there are different sects. So getting to the right Digambar Jain Dharma is again a challenge, you know. And if you are able to get access to this kind of true gods, true knowledge, and true shastras, then also getting an interest to study these is again a very rare thing. And if you are also having an interest, then getting a means to have this kind of knowledge is again very rare. Okay. So from that perspective, if you see, it is difficult to achieve this knowledge. Coming on to the last of reflections, Dharma Bhavana. Dharma means religion. Our soul is a mass of consciousness and perceptional sentience. So soul is darshan gyan mai. Okay. So soul is a mass of consciousness, means knowledge, and perceptional sentience. So this is religion from the real point of view. It's 10 forms of compassion, forgiveness, etc. So we have this 10 Lakshan Dharma, you know, 10 different qualities of Dharma. Okay, 10 forms of Dharma. Daya, Shama, you know, Uttam Shama, Mardav, Arjav. So supreme compassion and then supreme forgiveness. All these are a form of religion. Then we have 3 gems of religion: right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct. So these are religion from the conventional point of view. From the real point of view, our soul and the manifestations of pure sentiments is the religion. To manifest passionlessness is religion. So religion is only one type. It is all about passionlessness. But from the conventional point of view, we have different forms of religions. The 10 forms and the 3 forms of the 3 gems, you know, right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct. These are all from the conventional point of view. So through the medium of these 12 wishful reflections, we have practiced descriptive knowledge from different angles. So this is very important when you practice descriptive knowledge. this will automatically come into your mind, and by practicing descriptive knowledge, you will enjoy eternal bliss at that point of time itself. So these are very important, and we will, of course, be studying this in detail in the third sem. We leave this up to this only right now. Now coming on to the last chapter of this Vitrag Vigyan 1, paper 1, is the third chapter, the 7 fundamentals. Sat Tattva, okay, 7 fundamentals. This particular chapter is written by Acharya Uma Swami, and we'll be reading about his life and
Which page
character.
is it on?
It's on the 13th page.
Okay.
Before this, third chapter. This is the 6th one. This is the 5th one, 4th one, and now this is the 3rd one.
Also
Sem-
said I'll have to leave in like 5 minutes, so if anyone else can present after me.
Yeah. I'll make a co-host if anybody is volunteering to share this textbook on the screen.
If nobody, then I can do it.
Okay, so I'll make you a co-host. So
Then 分享画面。
yeah.
Did
I'll
it
make
show up? Oh, okay. Got it. Is that mine or I
That's
don't know?
it.
Oh, no, still Gia. Okay, but let me click. Let me see. How come? Oh, okay. Here. Yes. This
So,
is-
Rajeshri,
yeah.
I had a question from the previous one. My Zoom was going in and out, so I couldn't ask earlier. You
Okay.
mentioned that अपनी दुर्लभता है कि हम दिगंबर धर्म पालते हैं. So I've been asked this question, do you follow Digambar or Svetambar? And I don't know the difference, but I think for Digambars, we follow teachings of Kunkunacharya. But
Yes.
is there a specific definition we follow?
It is like there are some change. There are some difference in rituals, between Svetambar and Digambar. And since Kundacharya Dev, and earlier there was only Digambar Dharma only, But due to this, as I said, this is the 5th era, and because of this, the time that we are in, so there were divisions and subdivisions among the Digambars, and that's how the Svetambar Math has come up. There is a story about this, why this Svetambar sect come up, and a comic has also been formed about that story, and I will try to share the PDF of that comic, so you know the whole story how this Svetambar Math came over. But when Mahavir Bhagwan was there was only one religion, and then of course Kunkunda Acharya is considered to be the pioneer among all the acharyas, because he the religion was on the verge of extinction. But Kunkunda Acharya came, and again he continued this legacy, and he went to Mahavideshetra and met Simandar Paramatma, who was a Tirthankar there, and still is a Tirthankar there. And from Mahavideshetra, he came back to India, and then he started writing these books. And through these books, the religion is continuing right now. So he is also considered the Kalikal Sarvagna. He's given the title of Kalikal Sarvagna. So he's not a Sarvagna, but he has done works like a Sarvagna. Sarvagna means omniscient. Okay. So Kunkunda Acharya, at the time of Kunkunda Acharya and the subsequent Acharyas, that Digambar Jain Dharma was the original one, and because of this Kal Dosh or the different time that we are in, there were divisions and subdivisions, and we have now many divisions, But if you study the scriptures very minutely, you will realize that the scriptures written by Kunkunda Acharya offers comprehensive guidance, and our purpose is to get to realize ourselves, unless we realize ourselves, the religion doesn't begin. And so to get to access to this true religion and to realize ourselves, these scriptures are very helpful, and they provide us a complete platform for us to achieve this self-realization. So there are some differences. There are different sects, not only Svetambar and Digambar, but there are other ones like Taran Panth, and then we have in Digambars also there is a Tera Panth and there is a Bees Panthi, and different small groups we have. But when Bhagwan Mahavir was there was no groupism. There was only one religion, and that is the tradition that has been going on. So after Bhagwan Mahavir, Gautam Gandhar was there, and after Gautam Gandhar, there was the legacy continued with the Acharyas. Kunkunda Acharya was the first one who imbibed their life in this religion, because the religion was on the verge of extinction. But because of Kunkunda Acharya, the tradition continued, and it is still continuing, and it is going to continue till the end of this fifth era. Then the religion will get dissolved. There will be no religion in the sixth era. Only there will be violence, and violence. The duration of a human life would be 20 years. They will not go beyond 20 years, and there will be lots of violence happening here and every now and then. And not a single people will be able to get into religion. There will be no religion, no access to religion. So in that sense also, we are very fortunate to being born here at the time when there is fifth era. And because of this fifth era, we have access to this religion. Okay, so we learn about the difference, So difference is because everyone wants to have his own different methodology. So when Mahavir Bhagwan was there was no such differences. But still, as I said, during the time of Rishabdev also, there were different religions also. So this is not something new, but getting to the true knowledge will always be very rare and not easy. So from that perspective, it was mentioned that it is durlabh, but we look at it from the real point of view, our inherent nature, how it can be difficult to achieve. It's very easy to achieve.
So what you're saying on the sixth era, there won't be any religion. It's like
Yes.
any religion, or just the Jain religion won't be there?
Jain religion won't be there.
I mean, any reason for that? Is it because of the principles are hard to follow for new generation?
No, it is
Or
not about that, because we are in a deteriorating time period, and we are now in the fifth era, and this fifth era is of 21,000 years, and we are still at 2,600 odd years. So we are in the first 3,000 years now only. but as the time passes, there will be further uh, destruction of religion, and this will go on deteriorating, and a time will come at the end of the fifth era that it will be destroyed completely. There will be no true religion. So these are the times, and these are all been known by the omniscience. So we know that this is the fifth era and religion will end in fifth era. So this is all as per omniscience knowledge. Through the scriptures, we are knowing all this knowledge.
Okay.
Okay, so now you share the textbook about the 7 fundamentals and you read. So she's writing notes while studying.
You mean who is going to read?
You are going to read only, and you are going to share the textbook.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
No.
Sorry. Yeah, I was typing the note. So do I start from the beginning?
Yeah.
7 fundamentals, Acharya Uma Swami. I need to minimize this. The Jain community is not acquainted with the life story as with famous Tadvatha Sutra of Uma Swami, who attained great fame even with very small volume of written work. He was the chief disciple of Kun Acharya and blessed this land in the last days of the first Vikram century and the first part of its second century. Acharya Uma Swami is one of those glorious acharyas who enjoy complete reliability and respect in the light of the acharyas. In Jain tradition, Tadvatha Sutra enjoys the same dignity as Gita amongst the followers of Vedic religion, Bible amongst the Christians, and Quran amongst the Mohammedans. It is also called Moksha Shastra. It is the first Jain scripture in a Sanskrit language. This holy book has been prescribed in the courses of all the examining bodies and is taught in all the Jain schools. The present portion is on the basis of Tadvatha Sutra.
So, you see, Acharya Uma Swami, he has written this Tattvat Sutra, and from Tattvat Sutra, this chapter is adapted, in the first chapter of Tattvat Sutra, the fourth sutra, the fourth sutra is about the 7 fundamentals. I think it is the 4th sutra in the first chapter of Tattvat Sutra. Jiva asrav ban samva nijara moksha tattvam. So Jiva, Ajiva, Asrav, Bandh, Samvar, Nijara, and Moksha, these are the 7 fundamentals. The English names are like this. Jiv is soul, Ajiv is non-soul, Asrav is influx, Bandh is bondage, Samvar is stoppage of influx, Nirjara is dissociation of bondage, and moksha is complete liberation. Okay, so these are the 7 fundamentals. So Acharya Uma Swami wrote Tattvat Sutra, and that is the only creation that we have from Acharya Uma Swami. He was a principal disciple of Kun Acharya, and from Kun Acharya, he carried the legacy forward, and that's how the Jain Dharma continued, and from Kunkunda Acharya, then the other Acharyas, and then Acharya Amrit Chandra Dev, and then Jaisena Acharyas, and then there were no Acharyas to pick up this kind of knowledge. So then there were scholars, Todarmalji and Banarasi Das ji, and this Chaitanya Chabda and Pandey Rajmalji, Pandit Daulat Ram ji, Pandit Bhudar Das ji, so different very learned scholars were there, and who took this tradition forward, and that's how we are today, access to this kind of scriptures. So sometimes I think, these acharyas or the monks who wrote this book, they, in those days, they used to write in Talpatra, and there were householders who preserved those Talpatra. Otherwise, we could not have got these scriptures. So it is very surprising that all the Talpatras are available. So these granths are complete, Otherwise, the scriptures would not have been complete. If any of the Talpatras were missing, then how would we have connected? Because like in a particular granth like Samaisar, which Kunkunda Acharya wrote, there were 415 verses, Now to get all these 415 sequence-wise, number-wise, is again a very rare kind of things. But for our good luck, everything is there. Whatever scriptures that we have now is enough for us to understand the principle of Jainism. And the main part is you realize yourself, there may be a controversy that how the Svetambar is different from Digambar and all. There are different sects in Jainism. But when you come to realization, and when you feel that you have realized yourself, that will settle all the debates, Because the scriptures ones who shows you the process of self-realization, and you follow that path and you realize yourself, then you can say that, oh, this is the right scriptures. And then there are other paths who pretends to be right, but they are not right. And people just loses their time and they don't get to anywhere. But then it is very late to realize this. And that's how. So we've been too fortunate. I was myself a Svetambar, Stanakwasi. But I never went into religion deeply. So I am not in a position to comment. But Pandit Todarmalji has done a deep analysis of all the religion, along with the Svetambar and other sects of Jains. And this all have been very nicely explained in Moksha Marga Prakashak Granth, the 5th chapter. The whole of 5th chapter is about this, that why this Digambar Jain Dharma is the truest of all, and there are logics given. And so if you read that 5th chapter, you will understand everything. We never read this from that perspective, so we may not have that debating power. But if you read the 5th chapter of Moksha Marg Prakashak, you will get all the logics why this is the truest one and why the others are not true. Okay, so we leave this to that particular chapter. If anyone has this curiosity to know, to go deep into this truth, then he must read the 5th chapter of Moksha Marg Prakashak. There are all the logics given. Okay, so we'll now start the actual chapter about the 7 fundamentals. Very important chapter, because by knowing the true nature of the 7 fundamentals, a soul can achieve self-realization, and by achieving the self-realization, his path of liberation opens up, and that is the time that the eternal bliss also is experienced. Okay. So these fundamentals are very important, because by understanding these fundamentals, you can realize yourself and you can be happy. So very nice chapter. We will go in part, So first few paragraphs, I would recommend. I think everyone has read once. Yeah. So we are going to repeat this one. So we'll begin with Roshni ji.
Seven Fundamentals by Acharya Umaswamy. The Jain community is not acquainted with the life story, as with famous Tattva Sutra of Umaswamy, who attained great fame even with very small volume of written work.
That
He
has
was the
been
chief
done.
disciple.
That has been done, Roshni ji.
Okay, I should continue then?
Yeah,
Okay.
from the screen itself.
Yes. Speaker, all creatures appear to be unhappy in this world, and they also make efforts to get rid of the causes of unhappiness. They cannot, however, get rid of these without having the right knowledge of the essential seven fundamentals. Aspirant, what are those essential fundamentals without whose knowledge and right faith we cannot get rid of worldly unhappiness? Speaker, our real concern is to remove unhappiness and become happy. All those fundamentals, without correct faith and consciousness whereof, we cannot remove our miseries of this existence, are the essential fundamentals. Tattva means real nature of a substance. The purport of a substance, as it is tattva. Such fundamentals are seven, as given by Umaswamy in Tattvartha Sutra. Soul, non-soul, psychic influx, bondage, stoppage of influx, partial release from bondage, and liberation. That is, complete shedding of bondage. Aspirant, kindly explain these in brief. Speaker, soul is intrinsically an embodiment of knowing activity and perception. Devoid of knowing activity and perception, totally different from soul, are all non-soul entities. Matter and others are all non-soul objects. Different from all non-soul elements, the sentient being is the soul. I am that soul. The rest of the five substances are non-soul objects. Ordinarily, we have two fundamentals only, soul and non-soul. Influx and other elements are the combinations of soul and non-soul entities. Aspirant, if influx, etc., are only combinations of soul and non-soul elements, why have they been described separately? Speaker, our ultimate goal is to complete liberation. Our ultimate goal is complete liberation, or moksha. Therefore, influx, etc., have been described as five distinct manifestations. Without having real faith in all these seven elements, one cannot start on the path of liberation. How can we have distinction of the self and the non-self without knowing living and non-living entities? How should one try to attain godhood without knowing its nature and that it is the most coveted state? Stoppage of influx and partial release from bondage are means to complete liberation. It is, as such, necessary to know them. Absence of influx is partial release from bondage, and partial absence of bondage is release from bondage. How can one make attempts from stoppage and partial release from bondage without knowing these?
Yeah.
Aspirant.
That's all. Let's break here.
Rajesh ji?
Yeah.
एक question था. When we say influx and stoppage of influx, it's influx of karma we are talking about, right?
Right. So
Okay.
there are two types of influx. One is at the psychic level and one at the material level, So the psychic level influx is the manifestation of delusion, attachments, and aversions. Okay, these feelings. So this is the psychic influx. And the material influx is, of course, the karmas coming and getting attached in the same space point as soul. So it is the physical karmas and it's a matter substance. Okay. So corresponding to that sentiments, there is the material karma. Okay. So there is influx in both, from both angles. One from the psychic point of view, wherein you are manifesting delusions, attachments, and aversions. And then there is from the material point of view, wherein the actual karma comes and gets attached to your soul. So we'll come to that in detail when we explain the 7 fundamentals, but I just answered you in shortly. Anything else? So we begin from the start itself, very good beginning, that all creatures appear to be unhappy in this world. Now, one day I was listening to a lecture of Kanji Swami, Gurudev Shri, and when he was doing a discourse in Songad, a young student, he was not a student, but a young businessman, you can say, he came over to him and he said, you were talking about that if you don't like anywhere, come to this soul and you will enjoy, So he said that we like everything what we do. We like to roam about, we like to spend money, we like to eat, we like to do business. So why this discussion that if you don't like? So Swamiji was also, surprised by the question. The youngsters, he was putting that question very genuinely. He had this observation that he's not having any problem in his life. So why it is being said that if you don't find happiness anywhere, you come to me and come to your soul and here you will find happiness. Why you are saying such things? Because we don't have any problem. We don't see any problem. So Swamiji was a bit surprised by this question and he repeated his, what he said, he repeated it again. He said, you are true. Sachi, વાત તો sachi છે. Pan. Then he said one sentence, and that I remembered still today also. I was listening to this CD pravachan in our Mandir temple. And, I was also very excited that what could be the answer. So then Swamiji politely said that, Bhai, mohna tivra udema euj lage. So when there is intense delusion, when there is a rise of intense delusion, it appears like that you are happy. There is no problem in your life, because the delusion is not able to make you realize that there is miseries all in all the state of existence. And if you lost this opportunity, if you are not able to realize yourself, you never know when you will get a human life again. Because the soul is the same, the journey continues. If you end here this life, the soul does not die, it does not get destroyed. The soul is eternal and it will keep on changing lives, changing bodies. And in each body that he takes birth in, he will suffer immensely. And these sufferings in all the 4 states of existence, has been very nicely explained by Pandit Daulat Ramji in Chhe Dala in the very first dal. And you have this Chhe Dala complete scripture in your syllabus. And that is coming up in the third semester. Okay. So wait till then. But there are sufferings in all the state of existence in this life, whether it is celestial being or a hellish being or a subhuman being or a human being. All the four realms of life have his own problems, It is not that people are happy in some species. There is no happiness anywhere. So to get permanent happiness and complete happiness, you need to get liberated. Okay. So the beginning is like this. All creatures appear to be unhappy in this world. So when they are unhappy in this world means it includes the four different states of existence. So there is no happiness anywhere in this world. And they also make efforts to get rid of the causes of unhappiness. Okay. So these people by nature wants to be happy, and he makes different kinds of efforts to get rid of the causes of unhappiness, because if he gets rid of the causes of unhappiness, then he will become happy. But they cannot, however, get rid of this without having the right knowledge of the essential seven fundamentals. Okay. So with the knowledge of these seven fundamentals, if you have clarity on these seven fundamentals, then you can be happy. But if you don't have the clarity on these seven fundamentals, then you will never be happy. Okay. So this knowledge of seven fundamentals is very, very, very essential in order to become happy. Now, what are those seven fundamentals is the next question, without whose knowledge and right faith, we cannot get rid of worldly unhappiness. So the aspirant is very smart and he is very bang on target on his questions. He's asking the right questions. What are these seven fundamentals? Explain me. I want to know this seven fundamentals. I want to acquire right knowledge about this and the right faith about it, so that I can get rid of my unhappiness and I can become happy. So the speaker says our real concern is to remove unhappiness and become happy. All those fundamentals, without correct faith and consciousness whereof. So consciousness means here knowledge. Okay. All those fundamentals without correct knowledge and correct faith. Only knowledge will not do. You need to have faith in that. Okay. So without correct faith and consciousness whereof, we cannot remove our miseries of this existence are the essential fundamentals. So these seven are the essential fundamentals, and without knowledge of this, we cannot remove our miseries of this existence. So you see how important is this fundamentals. Tattva means real nature of a substance. So you need to know the real nature of a substance, and that is what Tattva is all about. The purport of a substance as it is Tattva. The knowledge of a substance as it is Tattva. Such fundamentals are seven as given by Uma Swami in Tattvarth Sutra. So these seven names are given: soul, non-soul, psychic influx, we can simply put it as influx, bondage, stoppage of influx, partial release from bondage or dissociation of bondage, and liberation. That is the complete shedding of bondage. Okay. So because of this bondage, you are transmigrating in this universe. But when you get rid of this bondage, all types of bondage, okay, all types of karmas, okay. So when you get rid of this all kinds of burma, all kinds of bondage, you attain liberation. And when you get liberated, there is no karma along with you. Okay. You are enjoying eternal bliss permanently, forever. You'll never come back to this mundane existence again. And this is called liberation. Kindly explain these in brief. Soul is intrinsically an embodiment of knowledge, activity, and perception. So the inherent nature of the soul is just to know and see, nothing else. Okay. Soul is intrinsically an embodiment of knowing activity and perception. Okay. So the inherent nature of the soul is just to know and see, nothing beyond that. But because of delusion, the soul believes that he is a doer. He feels that he has oneness with external objects. He feels that he has mindness with external objects. He feels that he is a doer of these external objects. And he feels that he is enjoying these external objects because of delusion. Okay. Devoid of knowing activity and perception, totally different from soul, are all known soul entities. So, what is a soul? First, we will understand this. What is a soul? Jiv Tattva. So, the first one is the soul or the Jiv Tattva. So, the soul is that which possesses knowledge, okay, which possesses infinite qualities such as knowledge, perception, bliss, and power, So these are all the qualities of a soul, and there are infinite qualities in a soul substance. Okay. So devoid of knowing activity and perception, totally different from soul, are all non-soul entity. So in the soul entity, there are different kinds of qualities, and each quality has a particular function to perform. Like the knowledge quality knows everything, perception quality sees everything, and then there is bliss, through bliss you can enjoy this quality of the soul. The soul that possesses knowledge, perception, and bliss is known as soul element. Okay. So this is soul element or Jiv Tattva. Okay. So there are 7 in all. So this is the first one, Jiv Tattva. However, the purpose of learning here is to find my own happiness. So now I will just refine the definition. The one that possesses knowledge, perception, bliss, power is soul. That was a general definition. Now, the one that possesses my knowledge, my perception, my bliss, my power is soul. So in this way, we have differentiated between soul and non-soul. So soul is one where there is my knowledge, my perception, my bliss, etc. Okay. So then there are others soul in this universe. But for me, these are all falling under the non-soul category. Okay. So soul is Jeev Tattva, non-soul is Ajeev Tattva. Okay. So devoid of knowing activity, yes. Devoid of knowing activity and perception, totally different from soul, are all non-soul entities. Matters and others are non-soul objects. So there are 6 kinds of substance in this universe. So soul is one, then there are other 5. Matter, medium of rest, medium of motion, medium of space, and medium of time. Okay, space and time. So these are all the different substances that a universe has. Okay. Now, out of this, soul is the one which knows, which sees, which enjoys eternal bliss, So the one that is devoid of this knowing activity, perception, is totally different from soul, are all non-soul entities. So now if we look at this non-soul entities category, there are other souls apart from me, which we will put into that. Then there is matter substances. Then there are other 4 substances, types of substances, such as medium of motion, medium of rest, space, and time. Okay. So, different from all non-soul elements, the sentient being is the soul. Okay. So non-soul category, know that it consisted of other 5 substances, and all other souls apart from me also fall into that category of non-soul elements. So different from all non-soul elements, the sentient being is the soul. So here we are practicing discriminative knowledge. We are discriminating between the non-soul and the soul. So the soul is different from non-soul substances, non-soul elements. And this soul is a sentient being. Okay. And now the important part, I am that soul. Okay. So we need to believe in ourselves that I am that soul. Which soul? The one which was only an observer, which was only a knower and seer. I am that soul. So who are you? I am that soul who knows and sees other objects. Okay. So I am only a knower and seer. I am that soul. The rest of the 5 substances are non-soul objects. The rest of the 5 means matter, medium of motion, medium of rest, space, and time. Okay. These are all non-soul objects. And we had added one more category, that is the other souls other than me are all non-soul elements for me. Ordinarily, we have 2 fundamentals only, soul and the non-soul. Influx and other elements are the combination of soul and non-soul entities. So ordinarily, we have 2 fundamentals which are of substance type, soul and non-soul. Soul substance and non-soul substance. These 2 are the categories. Then influx, bondage, stoppage of influx, dissociation of bondage, and liberation. These 5 are the combination of soul and non-soul entities. So these 5 will be divided into 2 categories. One category will come from the soul entity, and the other category will come from the non-soul entities. So today we stop here. Our time is getting over. But we'll take up this question. We started off late, so I'll take 5 minutes of this to complete this question. If influx, etc., are only combination of soul and non-soul elements, why have they been described separately? Very important question. This question justifies that why we should know 7 elements and not 2 elements. Because we could have easily known 2 elements, soul and non-soul, and our purpose of happiness would have been solved. But here the author says that, no, you have to know the 7. These 7 are the essential fundamentals. You cannot skip any one of it. Even if you skip one of it, you will not become happy. So you have to know all the 7. Okay. So why have they been described separately? Which we are talking about? The other 5. Okay. So these other 5 are many from the manifestation point of view. So 2 are soul substance, soul and non-soul, and the other 5 like influx, etc., are modification elements. Okay. So these are substance elements 2, and the 5 are modification elements. Okay. Now, why these 5 should also, we should also know this 5 is explained here. Our ultimate goal is complete liberation. Therefore, influx, etc., have been described as 5 distinct manifestations. Okay. So we want to reach up to liberation. So liberation is the last of the 5, and we want complete liberation. Therefore, influx, etc., 5 have been described as 5 distinct manifestation. Okay. So these are all forms a part of manifestation: influx, bondage, stoppage of influx, dissociation of bondage, and liberation. Okay. So our ultimate goal is liberation. Therefore, influx have been described as 5 distinct manifestations. Without having real faith in all these 7 elements, one cannot start on the path of liberation. However, can we have distinction of the self and the non-self without knowing living and non-living entities? So how we can have distinction between the self and the non-self without knowing the soul and the non-soul elements? So 2 are solved. We should know the soul element also and non-soul elements also to make the proper distinction. How should one try to attain Godhood, means liberation, without knowing its nature? And that is the most coveted state. So we should know the path of liberation. Okay. How we can attain Godhood? We can attain only Godhood by knowing the path of liberation. And then we can get liberated. So first thing, we should have clarity on liberation. Then we should know the path of liberation. So how this path of liberation is achieved? So this path of liberation is nothing but stoppage of influx and partial release from bondage. Okay. So we should know these 2. So stoppage of influx we should know.
Influx is ashra. Is
Yeah.
that right?
Right.
Thanks.
And stoppage of influx is samvar.
Sambar.
So the path of liberation is achieved by for etching the path of liberation, we should know stoppage of influx, and we should know how to get partial release from the bondage. Okay. So this means that we should know Samvar and Nirjara, stoppage of influx and dissociation from bondage. Okay. It is as such necessary to know them. So we have covered now self, soul, non-soul, liberation, stoppage of influx, dissociation of bondage. So we have known 4. Now, absence of influx is partial release from bondage, and partial absence of bondage is release from bondage. Okay. So I think, let me see. So absence of influx is stoppage of influx. There is a correction here. Absence of influx is not partial release. Absence of influx is stoppage of influx. Just correct it. Absence of influx is stoppage of influx. And partial absence of bondage is release from bondage or dissociation of bondage. Okay. So absence of influx is stoppage of influx, and partial absence of bondage is known as dissociation of bondage. Okay. You have done the correction, I suppose. So we should know the influx also, and we should know also the bondage also. So all the 7 has been covered. How can one make attempts for stoppage and partial release from bondage without knowing this? So we have to know all 7. We cannot skip one. Even if we skip one, we will not able to have happiness in our life, will not able to have the right faith in our life. Okay, will not have Samyak Darshan. So to know the Samyak Darshan, we should know the 7 fundamentals very clearly. So we stop at here. We are just halfway through the chapter. The actual part, we have explained soul and non-soul substance, but other 5 need to be explained. And then we will discuss something else also on this. So in the next class, we will complete this chapter, and we might take the whole class also. But if the time is permitting, we will have presentation on Gandhar Mulyankan. Okay. So everyone should be ready with the topics. Now everything has been taught. So all those who have been allotted topics, you should come prepared. You write it down in one place, and when I say, you read it from there. You don't have to remember everything, you can read and present. Okay. So everyone should be ready with the Gandhar Mulyankan. If there is a time permitting, I will tell you to explain it in the class. If there is no time, then I would suggest you to share it in the group, through voice message. So this is how you are going to do Gandhar Mulyankan. But if the time is permitting, then we will have it in the class, or we can have one more class exclusively for this Gandhar Mulyankan. Okay. So be prepared. Revise all the topics that have been taught, and read this chapter of 7 fundamentals. Then you will understand better. And if you understand this chapter nicely, you will attain Samyak Darshan, and that is how your path of liberation will begin. And soon you will get liberated. So it is so easy. Being happy is so easy. And now we find that getting into misery is a difficult proposition. Okay. So we will understand these 7 fundamentals very nicely in the next class. Okay. Any questions for today, or we end? Our time is also over right now.
Did you say for this class you have already assigned, what topics for everyone?
Yeah, there are few.
Because I haven't seen in English class,
Yeah. No, not. Uh, I think in English. I don't remember I have shared or not. I have shared in the Hindi class. Did I share
Yeah.
the topics, Roshni ji?
No, we haven't got it. At least I haven't
I
seen it.
don't think so, but
Yeah.
No,
Haven't
sir,
seen
even
it.
I haven't got.
So you have not got no topics.
No.
Okay, so don't worry. Then you did not prepare for Gandhar Mulyankan. Of course, I will be sharing the topic today or tomorrow. Then you start preparing. Okay. So
Yes,
Okay.
next.
Sir, do you take Hindi class also for the same batch?
No. This is different.
Other
batch.
batches. Other
Yeah,
batches.
batch. They are studying from Hindi textbook. Here we are
Mhm.
studying from English textbook, and this is exclusive English class, and that is exclusive Hindi class. But
I meant the same semester. The same semester Hindi class आप लेते हैं?
हाँ लेते हैं.
वो टाइमिंग्स क्या है सर? वो
Thursday
कब है?
Thursday
Thursday
अभी टाइमिंग चेंज हुआ है 7:30 to 9:30 मॉर्निंग.
morning.
या
Okay.
बट ये यही टाइम पे चलेगा अपना 8:30 to 10:30 क्योंकि यहाँ पे यूएस से कुछ ही स्टूडेंट्स है 3-4 ओनली, बाकी सब इंडियंस है, तो ये टाइमिंग रहेगा यहाँ पे. So we are our translation is also going at a great speed, so will have all the books in English by the time you your semesters. We are ready with the first 3 semesters now, and 4th and 5th are going on. So by the time you reach there, you will have access to all the books.
yes, sir. Thank you.
So you will not have any problem as such, but it depends on your preference of language. Okay, so we'll close for today.
Jai Jinendra, thank you, sir.
निज निधि निज में बताई यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना 7 बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना